Menless Productions. Cinematic Art, Musical Score, VFX, Publishing. At Menless Productions, we are dedicated to crafting high-quality, AAA-level content across multiple entertainment industries. From cinematic art and musical scoring to visual effects and publishing, our mission is to deliver an immersive and unforgettable experience for gamers, readers, and viewers alike. We believe in giving our customers the best and most polished final products, ensuring that every project we create meets the highest standards of excellence. Upcoming projects. We have an exciting lineup of graphic novels, video games, and cinematic projects currently in development, including Corpse Makers, a gritty, action-packed graphic novel series with a video game adaptation in the works. Rain, a thrilling, noir-inspired cyberpunk saga. The Duppy Man Chronicles, a supernatural tale blending horror, folklore, and high-stakes adventure. Spin-off titles and tie-in books, expanding the universes of our original stories with rich lore and compelling narratives. We are pushing forward to release these projects later this year and beyond, ensuring that every piece of content we create meets and exceeds industry standards. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel for the latest updates, behind-the-scenes content, and exclusive previews. Menless Productions, delivering the ultimate experience in storytelling and entertainment.
Daddy left 3 tires and a stack of bills. See, we can't live on dreams and dust. So I pulled him out of school to work with me. He said, youngin', we're packing up. We loaded up soon as my son turned 21. Skipped town the day after Daddy's funeral. Put his remains in the dirty clothes bag in the back of a rusty old cube van, headed to Mexico. Cause he's now a body on a make-the adventure. Heard it from eternity. I said, son, the way we go is random, but we end up where we need to be. I let go the wheel cause I trusted him. Rolled into Texas at the same speed and met Jim. And he told me, call me Whiskey Woods, just passing through. Grew up a country star and I got this talking shoe. It shoot a hole in my soul, but I got new kids and truth or consequences. I left my belt back in and haven't showered since. My wife's long gone and my son gets high just smoking marijuana. I'm making do a lot without a job or polio or an Uncle Thomas. Bob, a saboteur, my buddy with the vegetable garden, shares his pedal power ride as my body ain't as free as my heart is. With the crate from Mary Jane on the back, I got Daddy in the back where he belongs. And I'm doing everything I'm legally allowed to in the state of Alabama. The ex took the daughter, thank God, because she took care of my imagines. And meanwhile the cacti are calling me Muhammad. And believe you with the foot ballista in yellow peacock blowers, renewed by Towers. I never even made it here anywhere in Texas. Flames rising high through the smoky haze. This world on fire ain't no easy maze. With a roar I charge through the angry night. The echo of battles fueling my fight. One bag of fury burning in my eyes, leaping through chaos where the danger lies. 2 pistols blazing, riding my tail in a land where warriors never fail. Skies paint the world in red. Every step I take where angels dread. Sweat and grit mix in the midnight air. Courage born from moments rare. Soaring through the darkness with a roar so wild. In the face of doom, I'm a fighting child. Through fiery landscapes and shadows tall. In the clash of thunder, I'll never fall. I once roamed. In this fiery chaos, I call it home.
Broken glass, I try to shatter every dream I built so high. Laughing while my heart does scatter on this road I won't deny. Whisper stab like dull knives in the dark, they scheme and spell, but my fire still survives. I'll burn bright, I'll drown them out. You can block my way with boulders, turn my light to shades of gray. I'll stand tall, I'll be bolder, watch me fight and seize the day. Shadows creep, but I keep running past the lies they try to spin. Their dark ways, but I'm still sunning. In this game, I'm here to win. Trouble comes, but I keep smiling. Burst the dust off from my shoes. Through the storm, I'll keep on piling. Turn it down in the news. You can block my way with boulders, turn my light to shades of gray. I'll stand tall, I'll be bolder, watch me fight and seize the day. Whisper stab like dull knives in the dark, they scheme and spout, but my fire still survives. I'll burn bright, I'll drown them out. You can block my way with boulders, turn my light to shades of gray. I'll stand tall, I'll be bolder, watch me fight and seize the day. Shadows creep, but I keep running past the lies they tried to spin. Their dark ways, but I'm still sunning. In this game, I'm here to win.
Yo, I gave you my trust, thought we was tight. Running through the city, chasing dreams in the night. Loyalty was spoken, but the actions didn't match. Now I see the truth, man, it's all of
yeah.
acts. Smiles in my
I mean, here again, meaningless. You know what I mean? I was just, you know what I mean, watching. By name Running Man, you know what I mean, and it took me back to the days when, you know what I mean, back in the 90s, when we used to watch stuff with my father. I'm gonna start my channel basically in a 015, and one of the first, you know what I mean, ZBrush models I did, you know what I mean, what was artwork on my channel was, you know what I mean, this, because I've been watching that movie and you know what I mean, I was watching that movie and, you know what I mean, technically, you know what I mean, it reminded me of the days when, you know what I mean, it could have just, instead of like the Marvel movies, them where you sit to them, where them filled with all type of, you know what I mean, confusing stuff to the audience and stuff. Yeah, sorry about that, that freeze a while ago, you know what I mean. Go back to a simpler time when, you know what I mean, this one of the different variants of the, you know what I mean, the ZBrush model Arnold. Yeah, you know what I mean, take me back to the days of when, you know what I mean, before there was ZBrush. And, you know what I mean, everybody did rate him as a champion. Yeah, father favorite action hero and, you know what I mean, when him did have time away from work, for a while he would have spent time with me and sit down and watch whether I be, you know what I mean, a Chuck Norris, Lee Van Cleef, you know what I mean, or Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You know what I mean, back in the day, I miss them days because my father was like the most masculine person, you know what I mean, and you see a whole heap of things in the movie where, you know what I mean, because 017 gone and them do a whole heap of stuff in the movie where them a show off like the tech grow them and stuff like that and all of them things and, you know what I mean, normally it wouldn't be back in the day, you know, say a 1987 movie, probably around the same year, you know what I mean, born and drop out of my mother, you know what I mean, get for know this a type of action here, because my father like must go 80 something, right, and my father much older man than Arnold, but respect him endeavors, you know what I mean, my real stand for all of them things, you know what I mean, back in the day, because I don't say I understand the whole Marvel thing, or the whole DC thing, the whole superhero genre, and back then, this is the closest thing we have to them the type of movie there, and I still like them other certain things in the movie where, you know what I mean, they must show off, you know what I mean, the computer graphics at that time, you know what I mean, even one scene with Jesse Ventura and next, you know what I mean, big action icon of the 80s, and back in the 08 when I started this, you know, father did like one of my main supporters, You know what I mean? He even came out one day at my work, you know what I mean, to watch me working and, you know what I mean, give me words of encouragement. Because, you know what I mean, from ever since, you know what I mean, I started drawing, my father was like one of my biggest supporters. And I tell him, say, this a type of stuff that me I do now, so, you know what I mean? Unlike the people them want me there around and them not really want acknowledge say me I do it for that long. You know what I mean? I may have a vast understanding of it. You know what I mean? Cause well, this what I was doing basically, you know what I mean, was I was doing the ZBrush model. You know what I mean? This is my first foray into it, but you know what I mean. I was doing this ZBrush model basically from, you know what I mean, from the primitive what they gave us in ZBrush, you know what I mean, at the time. And um father was a big, you know what I mean, person, was up on sports and always like that lead them on thing and love the action movie culture. And when I was doing VFX back in the day, you know what I mean, like started back in the early 2000s, you know what I mean, because I was doing like, I wasn't doing full blown VFX, but like, you know what I mean, computer graphics and all of that stuff, you know what I mean, he supported it. I even have like, you know what I mean, one of them old keyboards that they show in the movie. Not that one, I have like a retro keyboard, my first retro keyboard from like, you know what I mean, the year 2000. You know what I mean? Very different from what you see them doing. You know what I mean? I would really want to go over some of like the things that I see them doing in this movie. Technically, you know what I mean? After, you know what I mean? Them capture him on thing. You know what I mean? Because all I want me to see are like 80s stuff. Basically 80s stuff. You know what I mean? Stuff from the 1980s. This is our old Panavision TV. You know what I mean? Hard to find one of them right now in a 2017. You do on keyboard on top of it. You know what I mean? Them supposed to do a remake of the movie. You know what I mean? And through me I go post this on my YouTube channel. Alright, check out the scene where, you know what I mean, the scene, alright, I think this scene,
Teen school teacher killed his wife and his
you know what I mean, I'll just mute it, you know what I mean, and alright, them go do a scene with Jesse Ventura where them replace, you know what I mean, him with CGI and I want to fight and something like that. And, you know what I mean? The technology what we have now way past anything what we are seeing in this, you know what I mean? In terms of, you know what I mean? Manipulation, even the AI tools what we have now can, you know what I mean, do a better job, even though them kind of glitchy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Basically, the thing what me I'm saying is like, alright, say if we recreate a movie like that, basically, with this a model that I want to have, you know what I mean? It would have be like, would have take me like 1 week to do that, technically. You know what I mean? Get the governor voice, man, not the governor again, but you know, say man, this great Olympic athlete, you know what I mean, Mr. Olympia, you know what I mean, for years, you know what I mean, then him start off a movie career, yeah, crazy, everybody, you know what I mean, watch, you know what I mean, Terminator 2, I know say that the movie back in the day, they what kind of inspire everybody like me, you know what I mean, to kind of go in a VFX in terms of the cutting edge graphics what I come out with back in the day, and I did one of them early person there in the early 2000s. What did I do it as? You know what I mean? Come out of high school as an artist and you see, think you would have be a bigger career in Jamaica, but you never really pop off. Turn out say you have to go places like LA, forget your break. So I want a really good model. Think it's, you know what I mean, better than the MK model that we got. You know what I mean? I did this basically, I just, you know what I mean, if you go on my YouTube channel right now, you can see me doing it. You know what I mean? I think I kind of captured, you know what I mean, the essence, more of the essence, and you know what I mean, the physicality. You know what I mean, the biceps and the triceps. You know what I mean, I took different reference pictures, you know what I mean, to get that correct. I'm going to go into that right now. Alright, I didn't use these reference pictures, but you know what I mean, this is one of my next all-time favorite cause, you know what I mean, we have time back in the idea, and you know what I mean, my father was always interested in what we have to do, so you know what I mean, and back then it was a serious and disciplined man in terms of, you know what I mean, very strict, you know what I mean, coming up. You know that the type of household that, you know what I mean, because I'm always encourage that I just some more, that's not Arnold. I think with the next Schwarzenegger picture, yeah, took reference because, you know what I mean, I think my father wanted me to go into sports, you know what I mean, because he was a cricketer, you know what I mean, coming up. And even though he had a smaller stature and thing, you know what I mean, he was like this back in the day. He was more of, you know what I mean, Franco Colombo in terms of physique, you know what I mean, very, very extremely ultra masculine, you know what I mean, up to this day I don't even relent on it. Same see me I do stuff right now in terms of bodybuilding, you know, really I take it as serious as him, but you know what I mean, because me I'm more like, you know what I mean, a slim down CrossFit athlete, more like be an NBA player, a football player, in the vein of like, you know what I mean, a Kobe Bryant or a Allen Iverson, you know what I mean, when they're on the court or on the ball team. You know what I mean? Whenever they try to get this a type of, you know what I mean, imposing type of physique. But imagine, we take this now, because we take off out of this Maya stuff. You know what I mean? Probably would have rig it and animate it in a blender, because this is a riggable model. You know what I mean? It's absolutely perfect. You know what I mean? We still have some work to do on the fingers in terms of the fingernails, the veins. But this supposed to you know what I mean, look like how, you know what I mean, he looked in when he was in competition form at least. You know what I mean? Some of the definition at the back. You know what I mean? I'm back. You know what I mean? Need work. And you know what I mean, the triceps area, you know what I mean, the upper shoulder, you know what I mean, need work. But overall, you know what I mean, I think I did a pretty good job. You know what I mean, when I was doing this, you know what I mean, at times I go back in, you know what I mean, and make tweaks because I have a lot of other models that I work on apart from this one. You know what I mean? I even had like a old picture of my dad that, you know what I mean, back in the day I used to look at. And the thing about it was, you know what I mean, I think, you know what I mean, I should do, you know what I mean, a father piece, you know what I mean, probably for Father's Day, you know what I mean, walk there, you know what I mean, all a drink with him, something. It's been a while since, you know what I mean, I seen him last year when I was working, you know what I mean, him pass through and give me a link, you know what I mean, spend a couple few minutes, you know what I mean, and then he was on his way because he, what I can't remember about my father, you know what I mean, he was never somebody whatever, you know what I mean, discouraged me from, you know what I mean, doing what I felt like, you know what I mean, growing up. He always, you know what I mean, trusted my judgment. I can't say that for other people, you know what I mean, and I always spend the time to, you know what I mean, to show me things because at the time when in the 90s he was doing, you know what I mean, body work on cars and the little time that he had, you know what I mean, he actually took the time out and showed me certain things which I still remember now. You know what I mean? So in terms of that, you know what I mean, I have to give thanks because if it was like other fathers, you know, they would have run it going and say, you know what I mean, and they will always be like, you know what I mean, they need to take up the books, you know what I mean, learn, strong, you know what I mean, support literacy, you know what I mean, learning, you know what I mean, him say, you know what I mean, try to learn as much as you can. Waste your time and go out and rap sometime with, you know what I mean, him say, equal amount of time where you spend doing sports, you know what I mean, you should spend it doing the book work. I can't remember anything, you know what I mean, like when I have my kids is that you know want to be as, you know what I mean, and as, you know what I mean, as influential as he was, you know what I mean, and despite certain shortcomings what I'm having in the past, you know what I mean, and him and my mother couldn't agree on certain things, you know what I mean, I don't hold it against him because, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, the turnout, you know what I mean, the turnout, for what I love to do, he never had any problems with me, you know what I mean, choosing certain career paths in life, because he always trusted my judgment, you know what I mean, better than most people what me see know what things say, you know what I mean, or some idle thing me I do or some habit. No, this is not a habit, this is, you know what I mean, this is how, you know what I mean, I provide for myself and at times provide, you know what I mean, for my mother over I can, whenever I can, and I'm doing whatever I do, so, you know what I mean, providing it and talking, you know what I mean, all type of shit and spreading rumors about me for years upon years, you know what I mean, not knowing self, you know what I mean, certain opportunities like this are not limited to only, you know what I mean, overseas. You know what I mean? You can get the same opportunities out here if you look hard enough. You know what I mean? Some people now look hard enough and project their failure on others. And I've actually been fine because, you know what I mean? What I do, you know what I mean? When I do my thing freelance better than working in an outlet that he saw me working in. When I work my money at the rate that I charge and, you know what I mean, at the pace that I go, the hours that I put in, you know what I mean, that's all me. And at the end of the day, you know what I mean, if I'm working my own money, you know what I mean, I have the right to do what I want, right? Because everything that I own, you know what I mean, I worked and buy. Basically, I've been independent from I left high school and I haven't regret leaving prematurely because high school and college couldn't, you know what I mean, have given me the knowledge to do this because basically everything that I'm doing right now was mostly self-taught, you know what I mean? When I say self-taught, you know what I mean, everything that I'm doing right now was self-taught. You know what I mean? Everything that I learned basically coming up was, you know what I mean, was self-taught or inspired by, you know what I mean, behind the scenes of watching some of these classics. You know what I mean? These things that are in this movie are basically outdated by today's standard because, you know what I mean, we can't take like 1-2 weeks and, you know what I mean, do this entire movie in a one computer, basically. You know what I mean, with the technology what we have now. So, what am I highlight because this movie is supposed to take place in 2017. And if you really check it out, this was a Stephen King book, by the way. You know what I mean? And, the interfaces that they're using, like the interface, the graphical interface. You know what I mean? This I like early phase and this really, you know what I mean? When I use shit like this in a 2000, you know what I mean? Let me try to find, you know what I mean, the thing. I'm gonna mute it and just start at the part. Because a lot of people feel like, say, you know what I mean, I try to catch some type of clout off of me, but I'm not have to catch no clout for get work, you know what I mean? YouTube not really pay me that much to put in the time what I put in and, you know what I mean, take your time out to show certain things, you know what I mean? I make more money when, you know what I mean, I'm up on the road. You understand? I can, you know what I mean, go through the proper phase or the proper channel with certain people and get what me deserve to get.
I gave you my trust, thought we was tight.
You know what I mean? So, for all of the people what love sit down every day and chat to people and don't know the truth. You know what I mean? I actually know more than honey. You know what I mean? I just a wait for honey to just flap on myself. See that by 2017 the world economy has collapsed. Food, natural resources, oil and short supply of whatever. I watch a movie and I read them. One of them played type thing, music, art, whatever. You know what I mean? We didn't go through anything like this in 2017, so basically an idea, right? You know what I mean? In 2017 I was 3D modeling this thing. You know what I mean? With better graphical interfaces than this. You know what I mean? Better. You know what I mean? This kind of support the amount of polygons right now. what's this shit? 64-bit. You know what I mean? On a green screen. You know what I mean? I don't even need green screen. Shit. I'm doing stuff in Unreal Engine. Don't even need motherfucking green screen. Not again. So it's time when it frees and maximize. Alright, so what I'm saying is, you know what I mean, this is a good render, basically. What I'm seeing with this, I was gonna transform it into a Conan the Barbarian. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna do that now. So, you know what I mean? I was just, you know, watching the movie, reminiscing, remembering, you know what I mean, back in the day, and you know what I mean? I just basically doing this model, it took me like a few hours, you know what I mean? And I didn't fully detail it because I can go back and, you know what I mean, add detail, take away, you know what I mean, in terms I really need the focus on, you know what I mean, the lips, though, you know what I mean, I didn't quite, you know what I mean, get the, how his lips look, and the eyes, you know what I mean, I'm still working on the eyes because I have better eye models, but I haven't been using them. You know what I mean? I think the color of the eyes, you know what I mean? Yeah, the color of the eyes, so let me solo that. You know what I mean? I get it that it's brown eyes, but like the irises and, you know what I mean, the eyes, I think I need to go in and kind of render these. If I go into like the mesh work itself, you can see this mesh more back in that time. You know what I mean? Not more them did I use could I never support. You know what I mean? Not like this. You know what I mean? The mesh work alone for the eyes, I think I have like 1 million, 1.5 million, you know what I mean, polygons. You know what I mean? You know, check out the amount of polygons, and in this mesh, and solo, you know what I mean, in this mesh alone, you know what I mean, this gone over like 2.5 million polygons. You know what I mean? The active polygon count, because they are the all-time high details. So if we carry it down now, you know what I mean? We get like, you know what I mean, lesser polygons like what you would have seen. But you know what I mean? This work could do for like the video games. You know what I mean? And stunts and stuff. So that, you know what I mean, just save a couple times, the new one. Alright, so what am I trying to find right now? Not projects, not texture, the texture, the skin texture, you know what I mean, it's basically, you know what I mean, a poly painted, you know what I mean, and textured for hours, in which that's what I do with all my models, you know what I mean. Oh yeah, the render look. Alright, so we could go with this render look. You know what I mean? So what I'm gonna show you guys, you know what I mean, coming down there, like how to do, you know what I mean, with this type of render look, you know what I mean. As somebody said, they would probably use something like this, you know what I mean, or not like this one. Great looking render thingy. There is no way those old 80s machine could manage this type of workload, you know what I mean? Not even a computer from like 1999 or the year 2000 could have never managed the type of workload like this. You know what I mean? Much less gridify and give this a type of look. This is just like one render example. You know what I mean? I carry that back up to the fullness, the full detail. You know what I mean? Turn that off. You know what I mean? Probably quick save it again. Because, you know what I mean, I probably do some stuff with this modeling blender. You know what I mean? And it could probably make a little short running man action scene. You know what I mean? As well. Because what I was gonna do, I was gonna make a few changes to this in terms of, you know what I mean, because when I was doing the Wesley Snipes Blade one, you know what I mean, I actually changed this one, slimmed it down a bit, you know what I mean, changed the skin tone, you know what I mean, the facial features. So probably when I'm doing the Hugh Jackman one, the Wolverine one, which I'm going to do the Wolverine versus the Ultimatical, so I haven't started to, you know what I mean, base the model, the Wolverine, Hugh Jackman looking model yet. So, and Jackman is a pretty ripped guy, but he's nowhere as ripped as how Schwarzenegger was back in the day. So I probably change, you know what I mean, a few, the arm length, the bicep length, and the tricep length, you know what I mean, the shoulders, you know what I mean, the quads and all those things, kind of slim down that physique to kind of match a Hugh Jackman. Then the facial features, and then, you know what I mean, just do the Wolverine costume like how I did Henry or the Black Panther. You know what I mean? And basically, you know what I mean, it's gone shot. If it don't, it won't. Okay. No, I think not. You know what I mean? I'm already recording and stuff, so you know what I mean? To the next chapter. Yo. Yeah. Top of this. I mean, I'm here, you know what I mean, documenting the next section of the journey. You know what I mean, I'm getting ready to send this stuff out. Myself, reason one of my friends said tonight, reasonable things. each one of my things. Certain things just ready for act up and just want act up vibe. As I'm asking, you know what I mean? I don't believe, you know what I mean? Some of the people them are messy right now because, you know what I mean? They want to come usurp the movement up the ranks, you know what I mean? Try to, you know what I mean? Discard everything what you do, you know what I mean? All of what you achieve, all of what you work towards. You know what I mean? Just to see your life in a perpetual turmoil. Yeah, because them ain't good enough. Because you know what I mean? If somebody go tell me say, you know what I mean? Who, you know what I mean? For me ascension to, you know what I mean? When we're there. In terms of mastery over what me I do because you know what I mean everybody have them goals when they're younger and when I see why if I step aside for people with lackluster talent, you know what I mean, mediocre, you know what I mean, not even lackluster, just overall mediocre, you know what I mean, mediocre talent. You know what I mean? Step aside for people with mediocre talent. You know what I mean? For come up. You know what I mean? Just for, you know what I mean? Hype over people because them want clout. You know what I mean? I came from humble beginnings. You know what I mean? The project for me I work on. You know what I mean? Don't say anything about humble beginnings. Yeah, the projects what I work on throughout my entire life, I'm just want you waste away your years. Waste, alright, for my entire 20s, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Me at work and nobody want to give me, you know what I mean, the acknowledgement I deserve in terms of you know what I mean, my transition from one medium to the next because believe it or not, you know what I mean, I'm overqualified for the video games. Based on my academic studies, you know what I mean, because through school, you know what I mean, through diligence and hard work, I'm always a put in from ever since, and you know what I mean, you have put in this for years and people don't want to you just dude. You know what I mean, when I get certain motivational talks, you know what I mean? Because everybody will have a hard time coming up because this, believe it or not, you know what I mean? What may I work on right now? You know what I mean? People oftentimes ask me what they mean, like what me keep on, you know what I mean? I do it. Want me feel I live with the same idea, you know what I mean? Say I wasn't good enough, you know what I mean? When I know say clearly I ain't good enough, but you want me to give up on certain ideas and become, you know what I mean, one other, you know what I mean, one other wannabe, you know what I mean, failure and trial, you know what I mean? When sometimes when I look back in at things, I absolutely understand why my father, you know what I mean, did tell me say, you know what I mean, I could have do anything I want to do and nothing make nobody discourage me. But you know what I mean, unlike certain people who I see now, or waste them years and them no want to see accomplishness before them because believe it or not, them not have, you know what I mean, the talent or the execution, and you know what I mean, me have a story to tell and through my journey, you know what I mean, into what me I do now in terms of filmmaking. I want to tell my story, my side of the story, everything I ever do. This what me I do on the AI, you know what I mean? If even me I use AI, you know what I mean? This is ZBrush ain't AI, ZBrush is you. You know what I mean? Doing your thing because right now when I use, you know what I mean, the fancy stuff like obviously them I can't get that. You know what I mean? I can't get one tablet. I have one Genius tablet, it works with it, but prefer to use the mouse from the year 2000. You know what I mean? I use the mouse and keyboard shortcuts to render all of the digital paintings. You know what I mean? I work in a Maya, modeling, you know what I mean? 2D, 3D modeling, etc. And you know what I mean? You have a bunch of people that come up now where, you know what I mean, at the void, you know what I mean, at the void of common sense, meaning say, them no like say nobody but either them no like say when people work hard for them, you know what I mean, and can reap the fruits of them labor. You know what I mean? I'm gonna believe in that. I believe say if you put in the work, you know what I mean, for years, you know what I mean, I've been getting paid from this for years and people still don't want to see. You know what I mean? I put out my project which as I said, you know what I mean, it's an allegory towards all my struggles, you know what I mean, in the industry that I'm in. You know what I mean? The whole clout, you know what I mean, chasing set of people when I believe in a nothing. You know what I mean? Because check this, if I can, you know what I mean, a phone or a tablet can't do this a level of work what me I put on for like years now. Yeah, for like years me I put in the work and I get no credit behind it. People is like them want me miserable and living a turmoil. Or them just want because right now, you know what I mean, believe it or not, You know what I mean? They don't want the good people in a society to have the ability, because a lot of the people that want to fight against me don't have, you know what I mean, the skills that I have in terms of, you know what I mean, doing the stuff that I do, you know what I mean, artistically, but they want to fight against artistic creation, and they want it for free. Same way like how me I run the tattoo shop. You know what I mean? They want to see it run down to the ground. You know what I mean? Me invested a lot of money, a lot of time in my tattoo shop. 14 years me I do tattoo thing. Me I do it as a ways and a means. You know what I mean? But when I can do it in my spare time, make, you know what I mean, money to survive, you know what I mean, to provide for myself, and oftentimes, you know what I mean, help out my mother and whoever else, you know what I mean, whether I be friend, you know what I mean, relative or whatever. They want to see my livelihood come to an end. You know what I mean, pauperize and start and move and start over again. You know what I mean? The chase, you know what I mean, things without substance, you know what I mean, or meaning. It's a thing where oftentimes we sit down and grieve, because at the end of the day, I don't know what these people do for a living. You know what I mean? I never inquired into their business. And if them want to say me have it easy my entire life and them never did know my struggle, some of them, you know what I mean, for the past 20 years me I work hard, I put in work, you know what I mean, and I beg every penny, every cent, you know what I mean, every opportunity I'm ever get, you know what I mean, me give it my heart, you see, people, you know what I mean, with no work ethic. You know what I mean? When I'm willing to grind as hard as me. You know what I mean? When you serve and come up and feel like, you know what I mean, the things off a cloth, sell people stuff what you call it now? Sell people garbage, you know what I mean? Stuff on having substance. For years me I said that. You know what I mean? While, you know what I mean, you as a true, you know what I mean, student of your craft, you know what I mean, go by the wayside and a struggle, you know, because what them basically strive off, these people that I'm seeing, what they strive off suffering, you know what I mean, they don't believe in you finding happiness. Fight against, they go out of them way to fight against you, whether because every relationship, you know what I mean, never I was never thought to find, you mean, like some haters. You know what I mean? Haters, they're everywhere. Even when we are doing nothing to do with them. Just because they want to see you at your lowest. You try it down here in a life. You know what I mean? Yeah, them the type of hatred. Them the type of hatred. You know what I mean? Human wickedness. You know what I mean? It exists on earth. There's always a battle between good and evil. You can always know when people evil. You know what I mean? Evil people want to see you in the same position your entire life. You know what I mean? They always fucking around with them. They don't want to see you again. No form of independence. You know what I mean? Or or a sense of zen, or any type of peace, you know what I mean, or time, spend no time with your family, you know what I mean, your friends, you know what I mean, them don't want to see you know what I mean, go to the movies with your girl, yeah, them just want to see you continue to run out like a idiot, over and over again, like, you know what I mean, the dude with the kid, like one big red monkey, you know what I mean, I run out, and constantly, you know what I mean, you drain your energy, sometimes you just have to do by yourself, in a life, you know what I mean, yeah, by yourself, absolutely just the by alone, so, you know what I mean, and do what you feel like do, you know what I mean, reach the point where, you know what I mean, if the world is shattered, because all I want to see them in a real, but in a for them mind, you know what I mean, them want to see my project feel and make no money off of it, so, say, I do a project and it's good, you know, yeah, them want to see it, and then now try to copy your formula, and try to rise off of your hard work. Yeah, because even when we made our music, year 2000, you know what I mean, we'll look for top, you know what I mean, officials, you know what I mean, our music and thing, we go check them, we team what we do. I want to my bridging. Because I used to say we did get fighting at the music, but we did do the underground thing. Because a whole heap of musicians out there were more talented than. But what make them no one do, you know what I mean, who just do recognition because them feel like say, you know what I mean, we not come from a place of struggle or hardship. A whole heap of time, you know what I mean, we in the room and the jam, the right music, and we see him create the beats in a less than half an hour. Some of the beats them him create in a less than half an hour, 45 minutes, and then he write down a song to fit that. You know what I mean? From 06, you come back in a 11, you get the same file, gone again. Say, I have to go migrate. Every time when you leave the island, you have to start over, lose everything and start over. Because the discussions I have, friends like them, let them know, you know what I mean? So, you see, sometimes you just have to push forward and do what you want, because none of these people are massive. They not have a clue, you know what I mean, what them really do. But what them really after, they want to see your life become a living hell. You know what I mean, in terms of your goals, because what were short-term goals, you want to turn it into this big old policy, put you through this, you know what I mean, this elongated journey, until you want a whole man like, you want a whole man and you wonder how you get this soul and how you look, the way you look, you understand? You are no longer the 21-year-old ambitious, you know what I mean, fresh out of school, left on your work, or them at your life, you know what I mean, some of these people, all them doing a party, you know what I mean, them have who them can go to beg, to get whatever, you know what I mean, when you on the other hand, after they grind out and put in work, you know what I mean, just to get certain results, and then at the end of that now, them just rush in a last minute and act like say, you know what I mean, then they got to something from day one. And them, no one me take myself serious because I don't look like somebody was supposed to take themselves serious. We're supposed to be like someone shit them. You know what I mean? Waste some time, party. You know what I mean? I run. Because it was always wasting time a party and I run and then as you get older, you know what I mean? Life gets more difficult. You have to run back to the same construction work, the same supermarket work. You know what I mean? When you could have passed that years ago. But the more you have to keep on and do the same thing over and over for 20 years. And for your time, you know what I mean? I cut out tight and I come back a road again and the more I do the same thing. You know what I mean? When we did that promote, you know what I mean, my albums in my past, nobody did want to buy it, nobody did want, you know what I mean, choose what for them favorite, but me and the music, you know what I mean, I feel making for the love of it, but you know want the person who I beat for the love of it, you know what I mean, get them break, because majority of what I do, you know what I mean, I do a whole heap of rewrites, and stuff. To the point now where it's like, because I really understand where them problems lie. Them no want you to believe so. You know what I mean? You stand a chance. And round the year 2000, basically, you know what I mean? The whole landscape changed because I ain't just like one point and shoot thing. If I want point and shoot, you know what I mean, all of the footage, wow, when we get there in 2011 when I do my project, was supposed to be my debut project. You know what I mean, I could have just put it out, but like, the scope and the scale of what, yeah, me did one though, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, to some people it seemed too great. You know what I mean, of a project, and when you do something that great, you know what I mean, it goes without saying you have to kiss up to somebody. Well, I don't believe in that. You know what I mean, I don't believe so I have to kiss up to nobody to get ahead in my life. I mean, I always put in work. Them want to see a collapse and dead for something when I'm supposed to be that serious because people have always been hating on me. You know what I mean? From day one. Talk about say, you know what I mean, when I'm black enough, when I'm white enough. You know what I mean? When I'm strong enough, but at the end of the day, I always pull through and be a man of my word with everything I'm saying about it. But them on the other hand want have a certain degree, you know what I mean? They call it, yeah, them want have something over you when them know say everything what them make up don't make sense. And the thing is, we could have care less about an Oscar, a Golden Globe or any type of trophy. You know what I mean? I see the trophy shop, I see how the trophies are made. You understand? And the mere fact say I invest so much money, you know what I do? You know what I mean? Based off of the work that I did do over the years. And them still don't want people to acknowledge for all of my struggles. You know what I mean? Yeah, everything what I do. Right now, I'm about to be 38. You know what I mean? Now this year, by the time next year, I'm 39 and still feel waste time for something where they ain't supposed to take me that long. You know what I mean? I like say, I want to be